Hi, I'm Mariah Foster, and some would call me a modern day shepherd. Every day at the farm consists of making sure that our sheep have everything that they need to live a healthy lifestyle. We make sure that they're all healthy, we make sure that they have water, and that they have food, and a clean place to sleep. All of these things we make sure to have readily available to them, as they're not capable of finding these things and doing these things on their own. I am their shepherd, and they know that I am good. He makes me to lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. Did you know that back in the day, shepherds would actually move their flock from place to place, not only so that they had resources available to them, but they also did it because the sheep would lay down and they would go to the bathroom, and they would have a dirty area, and the shepherds wanted to make sure that they were laying in clean pastures, so they would move their flocks often to keep them clean and to make sure that they had all those resources. In the barn here, we always make sure that our sheep have nice clean bedding. It's very, very crucial, especially during lambing season, that we clean the barn every so often and make sure that there is certain types of things in the barn to keep a clean barn so that our sheep aren't laying in their own filth and that they are comfortable. Our sheep also have this really nice big pasture that they can come out to during the day so that they can graze for things to eat and munch on, and they can bask in the sun and just have a really awesome chill spot out here. One thing that we do have to make sure that we do during the day that especially is important during the winter time is to make sure that their waters are always broken open. Sometimes they freeze shut and then they don't have that access to water. Here in this tank we have a heater, so we don't really have to worry about that one getting frozen, but we do need to make sure that it's not getting dirty and that it is staying clean and always filled up to a height that they can always reach it. Now, with other sheep, we don't have heaters, so every day we have to make sure that they are not frozen shut. So I've already done it with this one today, but this was all frozen and I had to bust it open to make sure that they would drink out of it. Another thing you may not have known is that sheep will not drink from moving water. They're too timid. Sheep are such a nervous creature, and so shepherds in the past would have to take them to a very calm stream or even a watering hole because they will not drink from a river or anything that's fast-paced that might scare them. He restores my soul, and he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Sheep are very dependent creatures. Dependent means that they rely on somebody else or something else to help them and to provide for them. They're also very repetitious creatures. If we get into a routine with sheep and we do things the same time every day, or we move them in the same way every day, they will just learn to follow suit. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This verse is a really, really important verse. Now, you may not think that sheep relate to this verse at all. However, they do. Because as I said before, sheep are very timid creatures. If we were to bring a new person or a new thing that is way out of the ordinary for them, they would be so scared. And their initial response and their only response is to run. They are defenseless And that is why they run away from the thing that scares them, even if that might be the shepherd. Sheep are prey animals, and one way that God made these creatures so incredibly awesome is that he gave them 4 stomachs, which means that they are able to digest and redigest their food as many times as they can to get all the nutrients out of it. If you've ever watched a sheep eat, they eat so fast. And that's because they were made to eat fast, get their food, and then they would go find a safe place, lay down, and then they would regurgitate their food and chew it up for cud. In order to break that down and get every ounce of protein, mineral, whatever they needed out of that food. Another thing you might not have known is that shepherds actually used to break the legs on a sheep. One of the front legs, if it kept running away, kept going into danger, if it would stray from the flock, the shepherd would break the leg and hobble it so that way it wouldn't be able to run away and it would learn to stay with the flock. Staying with the flock, especially in sheep, is very important to them. They move as a flock, they eat as a flock, they even sleep as a flock. So if they would have one that has gone rogue, that is what they would do. We don't do that these days, but this is something that they used to do. And it kind of correlates in a way that, sometimes God breaks us down and shows us what we're really going through, because it might be hard and it might hurt, but it's for a good purpose. Something that's really cool about sheep is that whatever you're feeling, they can feel that you're feeling that. So if you're nervous and scared, they're also going to be nervous and scared. But if you're cool, calm, and collected, they're going to realize when God tells you to do something and you are nervous and scared. Something to remember is that if God's not scared, then you shouldn't be either. Thing that did get used a lot back in the day are shepherd's crooks. Now, this is just a shorter version, and shepherds used to use these to help their sheep get back on track. If they were straying away from the flock, they would simply just reach it around their neck and guide them back to where they're supposed to go, guiding them back into the flock. Sheep cannot actually be pushed from behind. So if I wanted to take a sheep and put her into this pen, I would not be able to push her from behind. She has to be led. Just push from behind, she would just turn and bolt in another direction, completely different from what you would want her to do. So you can't just push, you have to lead. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup overflows. These sheep know when it's dinner time. If we're up here any later than 5 p.m., they are up here bawling for us. They want to remind us that they are here and they would love to be fed. Every night during our chores, we have to separate our sheep out. Sheep do need a lot of correction in the fact that some of them can be a little bit aggressive. Not per se to us, but more to each other. We separate one in here, the one that's been sick. We put her in there to ensure that she's getting the food and the special attention that she needs while she eats. We separate 3 more sheep into this pen and we close this door. These sheep are just a little bit more skittish. They're a little bit more nervous around us. And that's okay. They haven't fully developed that relationship with us. And so we separate them in here to eat with each other. And then we have 3 more big mamas that eat out here into these troughs. The reason we separate them all out like this is simply because if these big ewes were in with these smaller ewes, they would push them around and these little ewes would not get any food. So we want to make sure that everybody's getting the right amount of food that they're supposed to be getting. Sheep love special attention. We always make sure that we give them lots and lots of love and attention every single day, because that helps us develop a bond with them that they won't have with anybody else. In the New Testament, you can find spots where they talk about how the shepherds would build these walls with one door, and they would herd their sheep into this area to corral them. And this is true for us too. It might sound silly, but this takes a lot of patience and trust, not only from the sheep, but also from the shepherd. They have to rely on us, and we have to rely on them, making sure that they're doing what we ask of them. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You know, as long as these sheep do what they're supposed to do in regards to breeding, which is on a whole nother level, and other things, as long as they're not being too pushy and they're not being too timid, as long as they follow the directions of the farm, these sheep will get to stay here for as long as they live, and they have a pretty good home here. We really love to take care of these animals, and we hope that you enjoyed this video, and we hope that you'll remember that in a way we're kind of like sheep, and in a way God's like our shepherd. He is, and he says it in the Bible, I am the good shepherd. Take these small teachings into your daily life and apply them, because I can guarantee that if you do, goodness and mercy will follow you, and you'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. See you later, guys.